Welcome to Insight, today produced in partnership with KCOS 13 El Paso Public Television. Today we are chatting with Ruth Ellen Jacobson, Executive Director, and James Welsch, Assistant Conductor for the El Paso Symphony Orchestra. Ruth Ellen and James have generously agreed to share some of their experience with us. I'd like to thank you both for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So symphony music,
Yep.
the classical repertoire,
Right.
but also the modern repertoire.
A little bit, yes.
Talk about symphonic music in El Paso.
Well, we're 87 years young, the oldest continuously running symphony in the state of Texas. And here we are in little old El Paso. It's amazing. And we have a fabulous orchestra, world class, a great conductor, Bohuslav Rate. And we're very successful here.
And you draw the members of your orchestra from the community itself.
When we look at symphonic music across the United States, across the world, it's hard to find more than just white women or men. In this particular area, we have a tremendous balance between heritages and backgrounds, and one that we are proud to basically note is the fact that our Hispanic culture and heritage is alive and well here in El Paso.
And one of the most important aspects of this is that creates ownership within the community. When you are sitting in the audience and you see the artists reflective of yourself and also reflective of your sensibility, it creates an upwelling of pride and engagement that wouldn't be there if that were absent.
You're absolutely right. And we're so fortunate to be able to have that here. James did some different work this year with our sister city, Juarez, and brought together a huge component for the youth orchestras of both Juarez and El Paso. So we had a joint orchestra we called the Bridge.
Sure. So this was started going, I suppose, before my time here. I'm new to El Paso, maybe just a year and a half old here as an El Pasoan. But before my coming to this region, there had been some discussion about pulling the people from Juarez and the people from El Paso together orchestrally, musically, humanitarianly, all of these things. So what we did is we put our minds together once I got in the same room with some of these people, and we decided to make this happen. And so we saw the premiere of the Orquesta Filharmónica Juvenil, Mexico, USA, or The Bridge, in January of this year, which has been a tremendous project and a tremendous thing, which speaks to those same things that you've mentioned about seeing the diversity in the audience and in the orchestra alike. So we have El Paso and Ciudad Juarez, America and Mexico together, working to bring music to people who love it and to teach them how to be closer.
Now, this type of project is difficult in any environment, but it is particularly difficult when you're crossing borders and linguistic barriers. Talk about the logistics of rehearsal, just rehearsal, let alone the whole pre-discussion of different music directors and so on. But let's just talk about rehearsal. How did you orchestrate rehearsals?
Well, this is a learning process not only for people who are the organizers of this new orchestra, but also for the youth within it, who are the main reason why we bring the orchestra together in the first place. Yeah. There are a lot of youth on both sides of the border who are bilingual, by heritage, just have a tremendous mix within them, within their cultures. So to some extent, for the people who don't speak one language or the other, it may seem a little awkward, but we do have the unifying language of music itself and all of the musical terms that, regardless of the country that you reside in, we all know very well. So to some extent, for some, it might be awkward to understand what the conductor is asking. For the conductor, it might be awkward to try to relay this in various different languages, two in this particular instance. And sometimes you just learn things and pick them up as you go along. Yeah. So it's been that sort of experience for all of us involved.
the buses, and
Oh, yeah.
we took our kids to Juarez to rehearse, and then we brought those kids to the United States to rehearse. And we had to have buses, and they crossed international borders, so there was permission slips and all kinds of passports.
Getting your instrument checked by border crossing guards, and all of the things that international musicians know very well. But for these young people, it is an experience and one that they remember.
How many children participate in the youth orchestra? And talk a little bit about how the youth orchestra and the symphony orchestra interact in a way that transfers knowledge.
Sure. So within the El Paso Symphony Youth Orchestras, we have about 250, 260 kids. That fluctuates from year to year. However, that's 250 to 60 young people throughout this region of El Paso, Las Cruces, New Mexico, Ciudad Juarez, really, truly, who participate in our youth orchestras. If we're talking about the bridge, the joint binational, that can be anywhere from 150 to 200 kids when we count the choir and everything else that comes along with Esperanza Azteca. And our relationship with the El Paso Symphony Youth Orchestras to the El Paso Symphony is one that I think probably you, Ruth Ellen, can speak a little more to how it sort of originated.
We're one and the same. We operate under the same 501c3. The board of the El Paso Symphony Orchestra is the main overseer. The youth orchestra has a board, but that reports up to the big board. We're responsible for the funding of it and all the things that go along with it. James does the auditions and the musical end of it. Everything else falls on the El Paso Symphony. The El Paso Symphony, 1/3 of the budget goes to our youth programs. So it's a big commitment, but we see it as the future of our art form. And so we do take it seriously, and we put a lot of resources into our youth programs. We have another one. We have our youth orchestra, and we have an after-school program called Tocando.
Also El Sistema based.
Yes.
So talk about Tocando.
There's a school here called Bowie High. That's our focus. We're going to all the feeder schools that feed into this one high school. And we're hoping to make a huge difference through music and impact the kids that finally get to the high school and hopefully then go on to college. We're closely working with the university, and the program are an El Sistema model. The El Sistema model came out of Venezuela many years ago.
So people forget that the conductor of the LA Phil he started it. That's Gustavo Dudamel.
Yes. So we use that model, and we started at one school, and now we're in two, and we're hoping to go. We have 3 more to go to before we go to the high school. It teaches music, but it really works to build an individual child. We're not looking to make the next Gustavo Dudamel, although that would be fabulous. It's not our goal. Our goal is to impact these kids, to show them all kinds of things and to make their lives better and to show them a way that they can get to college.
So talk about your audience. Some symphony orchestras have a really difficult time attracting a diverse audience, and they really are struggling right now. My understanding is that you don't have that kind of a struggle and you have in certain respects been able to address at least part of that issue that other people find.
This year we did some different advertising that has really changed a lot of what we're seeing coming in the doors now. We do the traditional newspaper and mailers to our hardcore, classical patrons.
Who are generally older.
Yes.
And they're generally whiter.
Yes. But for those new patrons, we have started doing social media, and the way we sell tickets has changed totally. We now see huge amounts of tickets being sold online overnight and not so much calling up our offices.
We're dealing with a landscape, a media landscape where, sound bites and tweets are really getting some attention. And if you can monopolize on that, then we're going to try to do it. We have to.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that people understand that we're still here and we're still here for their benefit, and we benefit from them as well.
And this is the way to keep symphonic music vital.
It is one way.
One way.
Yeah.
One way.
Yeah.
One way amongst many as you improvise your way into the
Figure it
future.
out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ruth Ellen Jacobson, James Welsch, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for sharing the work of the El Paso Symphony Orchestra,
Thank you very much.
the Youth Orchestra, your programs, and thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you so much.